Hello, everyone, and welcome you all to IFTECH webinar series. After the successful session on impact of COVID-19 on global food industry, Pegasus Consultancy is honored to organize the second session of IFTECH webinar series on food safety and hygiene in the new normal. Health safety and hygiene has always been a biggest concern, but we all know that COVID-19 pandemic has brought it to the forefront. Due to the highly transmissible nature of the virus, hygiene standards and safety measures have made their way to the top of the priority list. This webinar will help you to gain the knowledge how to uphold the safety of food from production to consumption. I would like to thank the distinguished panelists present in this session for their participation to highlight the aspects of hygiene standards in the new normal. I would now request our moderator, Mr. Nadeem Mazhar, Senior Editor Publisher at Pakistan Food Journal, to begin the session. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Nadeem sir, unmute yourself.
Unmute.
Yeah, I would like to welcome all the participants and our distinguished panelists to the second IFTECH webinar on food safety and hygiene as organized by Pegasus Consultancy, who are also the organizers of the leading food technology exhibition IFTECH in Pakistan. This is a particularly timely and important topic as the social norms of the industry have radically changed globally in the last 6 months due to the COVID pandemic that has affected the world in different stages. Pakistan at the moment seems to have passed the surge, and the cases fortunately are declining by the day, but these norms are here to stay. We are here with an informed panel of speakers to discuss various aspects of food safety and hygiene as faced by the industry and the food supply chain. I shall be your moderator, Nadeem Mazhar, and we have among our distinguished panelists, Mr. Rafiq Rangoonwala, who is the CEO of Quick Food Industries, pioneers of ready-cooked and frozen foods in Pakistan. Mr. Rafiq Rangoonwala has a long experience with the food and hospitality sector, having introduced some of the biggest names in the international fast food sector in Pakistan. Mr. Martin Johansson is representing Lagerfors, based in Sweden, and he will talk about the central cleaning systems. Mr. Arij Iqbal is a multifaceted personality and actively involved in providing technological solutions to the food industry of Pakistan. He is also the president of Italian Development Committee, soon to be the Italy-Pakistan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. His timely topic of discussion is farm to fork, and followed by Mr. Nicola Garden, who is the business developer at Jonix from Italy, and he will talk about the use of non-thermal plasma to guarantee the constant indoor air and surface sanitizing in presence of people. And our last speaker is Mr. Richard Fowler, representing Unitech Washing Systems Limited, a leader in the washing and hygiene systems, and he will talk about Unitech's sanitizing tunnels and tray washing solutions, which are of course very important in view of the changed norms due to COVID-19. May I request Mr. Rafiq Rangoonwala, Rafiq Saab, to give your unique insight on the changed hygiene practices in the production and distribution in the food supply chain. Mr. Rafiq Rangoonwala. Sir, your mic is muted like mine was.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum everybody, and Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. When I started to think about what to say about personal hygiene, obviously it is related to food industry. As everyone does, thought let me go find what is the explanation or how is hygiene defined as per dictionary. So I found conditions or practices conducive to maintaining health, and preventing diseases, especially through cleanliness. Now, when I read that, I just stopped because, you know, after just this explanation and I was like, you know, what in the world am I going to talk about? I mean, cleanliness is such a common sense. I mean, do I need to tell the educated professionals how important is cleanliness and how to, you know, practice personal hygiene? And I was scratching my head. And then I remembered that since we have an overwhelming majority of participants in terms of our attendance are Muslims, and it amazes me that the first verses of Quran that was revealed to Prophet Muhammad was, then after that, sometime another revelation came, and it was Surah Al-Mudaththir. And in that it says, then keep your clothes clean. This is God talking to his creation. Keep your clothes clean. That tells us that how important cleanliness is and should be in our lives. Then in the Surah 9 of verse 108, it says, in it are men who love to clean and to purify themselves, and Allah loves those who make themselves clean and pure. Now, I mean, when we talk about any subject, we usually quote the experts in those subjects. We're going to talk about business. We usually quote Steve Jobs, you know, the Warren Buffett, and all those big gurus. And when we talk about philosophy, we talk about Plato and Aristotle. Now here, God is talking to us, and He's telling us how important cleanliness is. Now, this cleanliness is not just the cleanliness of, you know, the clothes. It's the inner and outer cleanliness both. And we need to understand something, that cleanliness, when it comes to personal hygiene, especially when it comes to food, is not only limited to us as an individual. Because when we talk about cleanliness, we talk about keeping our surroundings clean, like our homes clean, our neighborhoods clean, our city clean, our workplaces clean. So our offices, the shops we work in, the factories that we work in. Because when we talk about food, and food preparation, especially if we are involved in it, our personal hygiene affects not only us, it affects everybody that is going to consume that food. So if we are not clean, that means we're going to be transmitting diseases. Now, I'm not talking about internal cleaning. Now we are only talking about and focusing on external cleaning. So this food is going to be consumed by people who we will probably never meet in our lifetime, in the places we probably never visit. But we will be affecting those consumers of those products. And cleanliness is such a common sense. Like, it's just like, you don't have to teach it. You don't have to tell people how to keep themselves clean. Washing hands, taking bath, cutting nails, you know, using hair restraints for your hair and your beard, if you have it. And not to wear jewelry in the food prep areas. And these are such common sense. And you know what surprises me is most of the time, people don't follow those even common sense practices. People just ignore them. And sometimes it just amazes me that even those educated people, you know, I see them going into the production areas of factories without wearing masks. I mean, how ignorant can we be? And COVID-19 or no COVID-19, cleanliness is something that cannot be taken for granted. Personal is not your only personal domain. You need to keep everyone else safe as well. And it obviously starts from us. So to me, it's not only common sense, but it's a compulsion. Because our Prophet Muhammad said that keep your clothes clean. And then it says, cleanliness is half of faith. Now, if it is so much important that when it is half of your faith, man, guys, what is left? If we can't even practice cleanliness and personal hygiene, what was this our sake, for the sake of our families, of our friends, our societies, and humanity at large. Thank you.
Rafi sir, can you tell us how these practices, this cleanliness, how are you dealing in the production? Your company, how is this being practiced at Quick Foods?
See, even before this COVID things happened, you know, there are some very basic SOPs that one has to follow. Okay, whether you are running a factory, or you're running a fast food restaurant, or a casual dine-in, or full service, these are very basic practices. I mean, from making sure that people, to begin with, they look clean. They are not coming into your factory with dirty clothes. They wear gowns, they wear masks, they wear hair restraints. They go through footpaths. You know, they are sanitizing, washing their hands first, and then sanitizing it. And when they are in there, you know, they are not talking to each other with their masks down, or sneezing, or anything like that. So these are very, as I said, cleanliness is common sense. I mean, it's no rocket science. You can't drop a chart and say, step one, this, step two, this, step three, this. This is, you do it, and you have to do it every day. I mean, like, for example, washing your hands before eating, washing your hands after eating. When you touch a raw meat, like, for example, you're touching chicken, you have to wash before you touch any other product, either finished product or another meat or poultry product, and you don't cross-contaminate. I mean, these things are very, very common. I mean, this has to be practiced, and it's all, I think, mainly is common sense. I mean, you can't have a course in personal hygiene. I mean, if you don't even know the basics of personal hygiene, guys, we are in trouble.
I see. But you know, you can control this environment in your own environment. But what about the entire chain? How does that affect, the ingredients, the meat which is coming into the factory? Are you ensuring that all of that is also passed through these safety and the hygiene requirements?
See, good companies have a protocol. They do audit before they approve any supplier. Okay, and that audit is not just that what kind of machines they have or what kind of building they are operating under. It's also about the people, what SOPs they are following. Even traceability is very common now, especially in the Western world. People, the manufacturers would like to know, where is this ingredient coming from? What kind of chemicals were used on those products, or if it's an agricultural product or fruits or whatever. So, I mean, the good companies are following those protocols, and they're making sure that and sometimes you have to pay premium, to be honest with you, for that. Okay, if I go and buy chicken from, as we call it here, wet market, it's going to cost me a lot less than when I'm buying from a reputable supplier, because these things have a cost. And we also have what we call it in transportation, that when it is transported from one city to other city, the temperature of the trucks are recorded every hour to make sure that there was no temperature abuse, because temperature abuse can cause bacterial, and especially on the poultry, food, it can be salmonella or whatever, and that can be very dangerous to human health. So, I mean, as I said, I mean, good companies not only follow protocols in their own facility, they assure that their suppliers are also following those protocols, so that they do not compromise on health of their consumers and also their own people.
Thank you very much, Rafi. Thank you very much. And now I would like to move to Mr. Martin Johansson, and he will give his very timely and interesting presentation on the central cleaning systems and hygiene solutions for the food industry, for food sector.
Hello all, my name is Martin Johansson. I'm responsible for all the export that we do at Lagerfors. We supply a lot of distributors around the world, and I'm going to share my screen with you all. Let's see here. Can everybody see this?
Yes,
All right.
it's quite clear.
So we have been in the food industry for more than 55 years. We have focused only on the food industry and how to clean the food industry safely. There is a little bit of history. As it says down in the bottom, we have 28 distributors globally, and one of them is, of course, in Pakistan. As you can see, we are around the world, more or less global. Not so much in Far East Asia, but and Africa, but otherwise we are represented all over the world. 4 cornerstones we never compromise on. Always focus on optimal hygiene for the customer. Try to reduce the cost in terms of water, energy, chemical, and time. By doing so, we reduce the environmental impact, and we try to make the work as easy as possible for the guy in the end of the hose. The guy who is cleaning your plant should have the best possibilities to do so. UN's global goals, we have selected 5 of them, which we are aiming to contribute to. And these are very, very important. So good health and well-being, clean water and sanitation, that's what we're all about. And you can see the other 3 as well. Our cleaning philosophy, as little as possible, as much as necessary. Do not waste water, energy, and chemicals, but you need as much as you need to do a good job. This is the central cleaning system. This is what we promote all over the world. If you see my pointer here, this is outside of production. Here you have water pumps for hot water. You have a unit for mixing of chemicals. You mix the chemicals ready to use solution in a closed environment outside of production, so there is no chemicals in the production area. And then you have pipelines coming out to your satellites where you place in your production where you need to clean. So normally you can have 10, 20, 30 or 40 places like this supplied from a central place. So the guy who is cleaning every night, he comes here, he opens the valves to get his chemical foam, his water, and his sanitizer and disinfection. He does a good, fast job here, and he moves on. You don't touch any chemicals for personal safety reasons, and there is also, you do the job fast and you move on. Cleaning in the food industry has always been very, very important, but with the COVID-19, it has increased tremendously. Everybody's focus is now on cleanliness in the food industry, and also a possibility to trace, log, and document what you're doing. And to this system, we can also provide the log trace system. This will measure all your parameters from the central system and give it to you on the screen. So you can look back 3 weeks or 1 year or yesterday evening to see what your cleaning process looked like. Did I use the right temperature? Did we have the right concentration on chemicals and disinfection? How much did we use? Can we say that we have a good result? If you have a product recall, you can go back in time, check the history and see if you did something wrong in the sanitation when this batch was delivered. So this gives you full documentation and traceability of your cleaning process. And to my knowledge, there is no other system on the market giving you this possibility of checking and controlling your sanitation process. It has been very common for 20 years in the production on the production equipment, weights and temperature and moisture and everything, but this is new for the cleaning session. And the cleaning session is very, very important as well as the production. This gives you a good base to stand on to produce safe food. So this gives you a document to support what you're saying. There is also another kind of system that we provide. This is the Decentral system. Logging is not possible on this in this variety of system, but this is for a little bit smaller plant, but it does the same result. It gives a good hygiene, but there is no ready-to-use mixing outside of a production area. You need to go in here with your chemical canisters. That's the big difference. So this systems is also available, but in my role as an advisor in this, I would say that this central system is the one to look at for the future. And this system you will install and pipe it once, and you will use it and save money every night for 30 years. And you can document it. Very important today. So this was basically what I had, and feel free to ask any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johansson, which is this for a very interesting and comprehensive yet concise presentation. I'm sure there will be a few questions that we'll be sharing with you to answer after all the presentations are done. Now I would like to request Mr. Arij Iqbal to join and to give an overview of Farm to Fork, a very interesting presentation I'm sure is coming in discussion to be followed later. Mr. Arij Iqbal.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you're connected with us from. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I'd like to start. I've chosen a topic which basically tries to cover what we have and what we are doing in Pakistan with regards to hygiene, and personal hygiene was covered by Mr. Rafiq Bagmoonwala, but the hygiene standards which are being implemented in the Pakistan industry. And the reason why I chose Farm to Fork was primarily because we have in place, and we have an industrial expert sitting with us in the form of Rafiq Saab, who can probably second me on this, that we have, and I think he also mentioned in his presentation, that as far as the hygiene standards go for the processing industry and the HoReCa sector, we have definitely come a long way, and we are somewhat at par with the global standards. I will get to that. However, I would like to start by talking about the aspect of global gap. Global gap is a concept which relates to the farm sector, and it covers the crops, the livestock, and the aquaculture. Global gaps has been implemented all over the world, and this is something which is crucial in identifying the practices, the best practices in these sectors, be it crops, be it livestock or aquaculture, which ensures that before processing, the goods that arrive into the processing mills or reach directly from the farm to the supermarkets have been taken care of as per the standards which are globally acceptable to all. And they certify the hygiene, the best practices in terms of safety, food safety, personnel safety, and processing safety. When we talk about the global gap, the standard which is being followed in Pakistan is called the Europe gap, which is basically good agricultural practices. That's what GAP stands for. We follow the, excuse me, we follow the Europe gap, and Europe gap is basically in Pakistan can be implemented and certified through SGS. This is a growing trend. This was an initiative which was initially taken by the USAID in Pakistan, and they have certified, for instance, as an example, the mango farms in Pakistan. There are 17 mango farms which have been certified under Global Gap, and they are now able to export their produce from Pakistan to the rest of the world. In the very same way, these standards are now being encouraged and are being implemented for the local consumers as well. And we are seeing a changing trend over a period of time where we see that as we now have international supermarket chains who are now insisting upon supply chains which have actually gone through Global Gap certification. It's a process which has started, but this is the first step which is needed for a lot of industries which eventually lead to processing. There are two aspects. One was highlighted briefly earlier on, which is related to ingredients. And the other would be the produce that we bring to our processing industries. So moving on to the processing side, when we move from, if the goods have the Global Gap certification, you are certain about the quality of the produce, the hygiene, and the safety of the produce. And then once you bring that into your processing area, you can then further implement all the other standards. For instance, what Martin just mentioned about the cleaning systems, which is imperative when it comes down to ensuring a clean working environment and all the hygiene standards with regards not just to the environment where the processing is taking place, but also the equipment which needs to be fully sterilized and cleaned before any processing is done on it. So there are some key factors that we need to focus on when we talk about the Pakistan market in particular and global market also, because there is a general growing tendency of acceptance of halal certifications, not just in Pakistan or the Muslims world, but globally as well, where we see that halal certification has obtained a significant value, because it is not just about how a certain way or a product, especially when we talk about halal certification, we talk about meat and poultry. But other than that, halal certification has taken a very broad spectrum. And this spectrum now involves both food, ingredients, pharmaceuticals, and it is gaining popularity globally. So alongside the certification that you have for the Global Gap, a halal certification also comes into question, which ensures, once again, the quality and safety aspects of the product, the origins of the product, which once again relate back to the quality and safety of the product. Rafiq Saab, I'm referring to him again and again because he started on a presentation which opened up this avenue for the discussion on halal, because coming from Pakistan, and I know I can see that there are certain attendees which are global from different countries. So I would like to emphasize that halal is just not about red meat and poultry. It's a certification process which involves the hygiene and the quality of products as well, which makes it very important to be part of the whole value chain, how it's going to affect the final and end product. So moving from global gaps to halal is something that ensures that the product quality that you receive has certain certifications which ensures the quality, the safety of the ingredients, and the process controls, which we see, for instance, in terms of livestock and poultry. So that is another aspect which adds to the end product value. And when we move to the processing industry, we have speakers today who would be emphasizing more in detail about certain aspects and the solutions that they provide. One has been done so by Martin, which ensures the cleanliness of the environment where the processing is taking place. At the same time, we also need to have better implementation of exit and entry control points, ensuring that the personal hygiene of all the people involved in the processing area, and how best practices can be enforced and SOPs can be put in place, that the people who are entering or exiting these areas, there is a safety element for the process and also for the employees. So the overall working conditions of the processing industry can be ensured. And there are several ways of it. I would not like to go in detail because I know Richard has a more detailed presentation to talk about the general aspects of it, and also Nicola. So I would leave the technical details to them. But in today's time, when we talk about the COVID-19 situation, these hygiene practices, which the companies in Pakistan, especially on the process industry, are well aware of, have become more important and need to be implemented in a more stringent way. And we need to take into consideration not just the personal hygiene of the people, and also of the surfaces and the equipments being used, two subjects which partially has been covered by Martin and will be covered by Richard, but also a very important aspect, which is the environment, the surrounding environment in which the processing is taking place. And in this reference, I think Nicola will be talking a lot in detail, but I feel that I would just make a point that it's very important to pay attention, because now what we talk about when we talk about COVID, we talk about the air transmission of the virus. And this brings into question that not just the surfaces and the equipment needs to be cleaned, but the environment needs to be cleaned to ensure that we are operating not just for the consumers, but also for the workers. So there has to be a uh, you can say two-pronged strategy on this, where the hygiene of the product and the food safety of the product has to be ensured, but simultaneously the safety of the workers has to be ensured. Uh, and for that purpose, a complete set of tools is available, which will be presented today, I believe, to provide everybody with an understanding of what needs to be done. But what is most important is that all these certifications, like the Global Gap, the Halal certification, the HACCP certifications, all these certifications provide us with the tools necessary to implement and ensure the quality of food which should reach the consumer in today's challenging times. And for this, I feel the industry in Pakistan has done a great job when it comes down to the processing industry, and also for the HoReCa sector. And these changes and implementations, a lot of the contribution goes to people who brought in the multinational chains into Pakistan. And once again, I go to a person who's like a mentor to me, Rafiq Rangoonwala, who was instrumental in bringing a big change in Pakistan by introducing a leading multinational fast food chain in Pakistan, and bringing in the standards. And thus far, we have managed to reach a level where we are comparable to the global industry in terms of the HoReCa sector. The processing industry has also made great improvements on it because of the value chain aspect introduced by these global chains which came into Pakistan. However, having said that, we feel that there are still a lot of gaps that exist once again on the first aspect that I touched in my presentation related to the farm or the global gap. And that's where the emphasis should be placed in Pakistan to ensure a quality supply chain of produce, which is eventually ending up at the supermarkets or the HoReCa or on the retail chains, so that the consumer can be confident of the product that he picks up from the shelf or at a restaurant. With this, I just want to add that we at Alpha Penta try and ensure that we can offer these solutions to people and also basically try and help and educate the industry to transform at come at par with the global standards. So anything we can do, we are always available. I look forward to the questions. I know I have two more speakers who will be elaborating on some of the key points that I have touched on, so I wouldn't take more of the time. But with this, I'd like to thank all of you and all the panelists who are here with me. Thank you for being here, and thank you to all the attendees. And if you have any questions, please let us know and we'll try and address them at the question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ari. It was a very, very interesting presentation. And we'll certainly have a few questions about global gap and how it is matched when halal certification and the cleanliness practices in the overall scenario. We are looking forward to a few questions which have already come up by the participants. Now, I would like to request Mr. Nicola Garden to give his timely, interesting presentation on non-thermal plasma to guarantee the constant air and surface sanitization in the presence of people. This is what we're talking about, that it's not only the surface, but also the air which needs to be clean, even if there's a distance of how that is done. I would like Mr. Nicola Garden to enlighten us. Thank you very much.
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and let me share with you my desktop so we can see it together the presentation. Do you hear me? Okay. So let's try to follow the topics. The main topics of this presentation are regarding the food safety, because this is the main topic of this interesting meeting. But we have also to explore what happened after the COVID-19, the new scenario, and the new solution to guarantee the constant sanification of indoor air and surfaces, because as we have listened recently by the other important guests of this meeting, it's not longer important only to guarantee the food safety in the traditional concept, but also to improve it and to move also to the concept of the indoor sanification in terms of air, surfaces, etc. So traditionally speaking, when we talk about risk for food, we talk about the food contamination. Everybody knows in this field that the main contaminants that we can find in our industries are pathogenic microorganisms or mycotoxins or chemical compounds. But we know that in general, the most dangerous elements, the reason of contamination, are the pathogenic microorganisms that we know are there are a lot of them. There are Escherichia coli, Salmonella, all Listeria, or Staphylococcus. So we know that these are the typically enemies of our food, and what we have to eliminate to guarantee, to avoid any possible direct, indirect, or cross contamination of goods. But after COVID, we have seen that the scenario is completely different, in my opinion, because as it was clearly explained also by Mr. Rafiq at the beginning of this meeting, there are many important practices that we have to follow to guarantee the food safety, and the HACCP protocols are very clear on this point of view in terms of cleaning procedure, in terms of temperature control, clothes protection, etc. All good practice that must be followed to guarantee the food safety. But after the COVID-19, we have seen that the risk for a food food industry is not only connected with the risk of food and the food quality and food protection, but we have to take care about also employees. If only one of the employee is contaminated by COVID-19, is infected by we are forced to close immediately the company. I'm talking about also with hotel managers. They are very, very worried about this, because they invested a lot of efforts and money to protect food, to guarantee very good cleaning procedure. But if only one of their employees was infected by COVID-19, they are forced to close immediately the hotel or the restaurant or the bar or the catering company. So today, it's extremely important to protect the food, but also people, the workers that are inside the company. So what we are offering now is a different approach. We have to guarantee the constant sanitization of the indoor air, as well surfaces, as well tools and packaging, because we have seen that this kind of virus that is forced as any virus to live inside the bacteria can survive not only on air, but also on the surfaces. So we have to guarantee the constant sanification of the entire food chain, starting from the farms, slaughterhouse, till to the final user, till to our final client. That can be a family in a restaurant, or it can be a gentleman in a hotel or a supermarket. So all the food chain has to be under control. And in particular, we have to guarantee the sanification in presence of people, because today we have to overcome the traditional solutions that the sanification can be done only when people are not present inside the ambient. There's no sense, because today we have seen that people are the main vehicle of contamination. That can be a virus, that can be a bacteria colony, etc. So we have to offer a solution that has the capability to sanificate the ambient without any risk for the people inside this ambient. And so these are the targets. We have to guarantee 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long, an active sanification of indoor air and indoor surfaces to protect food, clients, and employees. How we can do this? It's with non-thermal plasma. Non-thermal plasma is something that extremely natural. This is the result that we see in the nature where after a storm, after a heavy rain, when we feel the air outside is, how can I say, it's freezing air, but it's because this air is charged by plasma. Plasma is a mix of different elements like ions, electrons, free radicals, molecules, and natural atoms. This blend of gases are very reactive. What does it mean? That they are looking for electrons in the ambience to collect these electrons and to share their energy. This gas, this plasma, is called non-thermal because it's at the same temperature of the ambient. So the energy that we supply artificially is not due to improve the temperature of this gas, but only to create really reactive elements with the capability to act against pathogens elements in the ambient. How they work? Simply because bacteria as virus, that virus typically are inside the bacteria, because as we know, the virus itself doesn't exist. It has to be inside another organism that can be a bacteria. or molds, yeast, they have an external surface, the membrane, that is made by protein connected by electrons. And these electrons attract the plasma, and the plasma collects these electrons, destroying the external membrane of the bacteria. So it doesn't matter if this bacteria is on the surface, or is on air, everywhere, where the bacteria are present are fighted by the non-thermal plasma, and I have the immediate destruction of them. These are some tests that we have done on the most common bacteria that are very popular in the food industry, like Escherichia coli, like Staphylococcus. And we have seen in the laboratory that after 2 minutes of these bacteria have been in contact with air charged with non-thermal plasma, after only 2 minutes, we have been to stop the proliferation of bacteria. And as you know, the proliferation is very quick for the bacteria. And after 5 minutes of tests in open air, so not in a specific atmosphere, but in open air, so in the best conditions for the bacteria to proliferate, we have seen that in only 5 minutes, we have completely eradicated the bacteria from the surfaces. So see, this is a very important result to demonstrate how fast is this treatment and the extremely effectiveness of this treatment. After that, I have also an oxidation effect, because in this mix of elements called non-thermal plasma, I have also the ROS, so reactive oxygen species. They are very aggressive against the VOC, so the volatile organic compounds, all that kind of contaminants that are present on air, and they risk to affect the quality of food, but also to reduce the quality of air inside the working area. And they are destroyed immediately by the oxidation effect of non-thermal plasma. So, which are the main features of this system? I can contrast immediately bacteria and virus. I can contrast the spread of any airborne disease and pathogen. So this is the effect that we talked about before, to protect the people, to avoid that virus like COVID or any other type of virus can be spread inside the working area, protecting the people, protecting also the guests, protecting the clients if we are talking about supermarket or if we are talking about a restaurant or a hotel. We protect people. We destroy the contaminants on air and on the surfaces, and we destroy any chemical and organic odors, because this is very interesting. Any odor, as you know, is a chain of carbon atoms connected with other elements, and the non-thermal plasma cut this chain of carbons. And so the odor, any kind of odor, is not more detectable. So this is very important to improve also the comfort, we can say, in some ambients. This is the effect. So we supply artificial energy to the air, and this is extremely important. Take in consideration that someone of you maybe knows about ionization. Ionization is an old technology, non-thermal plasma is an evolution of this technology. It's important to guarantee the right voltage and power supplied to the air to avoid to produce ozone, because as you know, ozone is toxic. It's not possible to produce and to spread ozone inside the ambient with people inside. So for us, it's extremely important to underline that in non-thermal plasma, there is no spread of ozone inside the ambient, so it's absolutely safety. This is one of the big advantages, because we can guarantee the constant sanification of the ambient. This is the main element of our technology. It's called emitters. It's a sort of condenser. So we have a dielectric barrier and 2 emitters, 2 metallic elements, one inside and one outside, to create electric field and magnetic field, and so in this way to supply simply energy to the air, to the common air that is inside the ambient. And this air becomes an active sanification system, because this is very important. The air itself, charged with non-thermal plasma, is a system, it's an active, we call it a pathogen hunter, because the air is spread inside the ambient, can collect and destroy bacteria and virus everywhere. So it's not a matter to drive the air inside the machine and only the air inside the machine can be sanitized. Not, it's opposite the concept. I supply this air to my ambient, and in each corner of this ambient, I have the total sanification and constant sanification. This is very, very important. And according with the tests that we have done inside the operation theater in hospital, we have seen that also the surfaces treated by non-thermal plasma, time by time, they become inhospitable for bacteria. So the quantity of bacteria, the colony of bacteria are reduced day by day on the surfaces treated by this non-thermal plasma. This is a sort of memory effect. The laboratories told us that this is a sort of memory effect of the surfaces treated by non-thermal plasma. Last point that is extremely important, 100% safety for human being. So there are no chemical products, there are no ozone or other gases that are dangerous for people, so they are used in presence of people. This is a very important thing. Jonix is an Italian company. 100% of our production is in Italy. We design and produce our machines in Italy. This is very important. And we have a very complete range of standalone products, very user-friendly. So plug-and-play systems like Cube, like Steel, that are very on-off with different configuration, different performances, till to Mate. These are standalone machines with a controller, touch screen on board. You can control ventilation. Mate line is the only one with integrated also filters on board. So we have not only sanification, but also air filtration with HEPA filter. So they can apply it also in medical structures. Three levels of filtration, plug fan to guarantee the perfect ventilation. And at the end, we have also this extremely interesting line of product that it's called duct. And it's used to be installed inside air ducts to guarantee the sanification of indoor panels of air ducts, to guarantee the sanification of air handling units or rooftop, and to spread, thanks of centralized air conditioning system, the plasma inside the building with the maximum capillarity. So these are very interesting devices, very easy to install. In few minutes, you can upgrade any already existing air conditioning system without any stress for the ventilation, any stress in terms of power consumption. So very easy with a very limited maintenance. Typical application, so food industry. Steel product is very common to guarantee the sanification of air and surfaces, to eliminate the odors, to eliminate the proliferation of bacteria. Minimate, it's a very complete system, as I told you, with filtration, ventilation, food industries, laboratories. In the kitchen, we have typically we install Mate because these are very robust machine, very easy to clean in stainless steel case, ventilation, sanification on board. But also fresh good warehouses and distribution hubs, because I reduce the ripening process, because I eliminate the ethylene, it's possible to reduce the proliferation of bacteria over shelves, boxes, etc. And so I improve at the end of the day the shelf life of my goods, fresh goods. So this is extremely interesting, not only for the big distribution hubs, but also in the supermarkets, also in the farms. So when in the harvest process. Waste collection room, in this case, it's very important to guarantee, to eliminate the bacteria proliferation, to guarantee also the elimination of odors, and to avoid the spread on air about very dangerous pathogens. Other typical application, medical structures. Indeed, one of our main, how can I say, market is connected with the healthcare, hospital, clinics, rehabilitation center, hospitality, hotels, resorts, but also after COVID-19, the concept of indoor quality was becoming very popular in many other applications. So, office building, residential buildings, schools, university, where you have a huge concentration of people and you cannot you cannot choose to sanificate only when people are not present inside the ambient. You have to adopt a solution with the capability to sanitize the ambient also in presence of people. Public buildings, airport, etc. And all other commercial structures, so shops, malls, etc. So these are the main performances, as we have seen, and our certifications. Of course, we are certified. We are absolutely, all our data are certified. We are collaborating with the most important international laboratories to demonstrate the performances. We have involved also third-party international laboratories to prove the performances of our devices, because you know, we are talking about the health of people, and so it's mandatory to be very serious and very accurate in the declaration in the data that we share with our clients and partners. So this is a very quick presentation about our devices. I hope that to receive more questions today or later, and thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Garden. It is such an interesting presentation with such a wide range of applications that our industry, not only our industry, but our hospitals, restaurants, and all the other places where they can be used. So we are looking forward to a few questions from the participants, but I would like to move on to Mr. Richard Fowler, who is the Operations Director of Unitech Washing, which is part of the Unitech Industries, and they are an established supplier of hygiene equipment to the food, pharmaceutical, and logistics industry. Thank you very much, Mr. Fowler. I would like you to continue with your presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Just going to share my screen with you, if I can. He says. Right. Right, Unitech Washing Systems. We've been manufacturing equipment for the food industry and logistics industry for probably 20 years, personally for about 35 years. And during that time, we've been designing and perfecting sanitization systems for the food industry, both sanitizers and washing systems. As Mr. Ranuwala and Mr. Iqbal commented on earlier, personal hygiene is very important in going into high-risk areas of a food factory. But also the thing that we are concentrating on today is transferring of goods. Unitech have been manufacturing personal hygiene equipment, boot washers, hand sanitizer, turnstiles for many years, and that's just part of our equipment. Basically, if you look at cleaning and washing and sanitizing, they're two different things. Cleaning and washing is basically a removal of soils and debris, microorganisms, and removing the things that they grow on. So it's the cleaning the contamination matter that the bacteria grows on. That's basically termed as washing. Sanitizing is a little bit further. It's a better stage. It's a reduction of bacteria to a safe level. So as we heard from Mr. Jardin, the Campylobacter and things like that is what we want to try and kill before we take the products into high risk. We term low care and high risk as low care being the area within the factory that takes in sort of raw goods, materials, packaging materials, and then high risk is the area where the food is actually prepared. It could be anything from ready meals, sandwiches, meats, etc. So what you don't want to do is transfer the product or the debris from low risk into high care, and that's what we try and do with our equipment. So why sanitize? As I've said, it minimises the risk of contamination. It removes the cross-contamination, not only from your own factory, from low risk, but also from third-party suppliers. You're going to be having ingredients delivered, you're going to be having carcasses, etc., delivered to the factory. And you want to make sure that your protocols are followed, even if obviously you've checked your suppliers, but if their protocols are slightly less than your own, then you want to ensure that they meet your standards within your factory, hence the need for sanitisation. The other reason is that obviously people in high care or high risk will then handle these products, and they will take these products and open packaging, they will open ingredient tubs, and you want to be able for those people to carry on working and not transfer the pathogens or the bugs from that container back onto your product. This is a simple tunnel, if I can just share the screen, going from low care. This is a conveyed tunnel through to high risk or high care, with your basically your wall there. There are various sanitizing methods to do this. One is UV sanitizing, one is mist sanitizing, and the other one is high flow. UV sanitizing is basically a dry operation. It's got a fairly low utility cost, higher capital cost than the other sanitizing methods. But the downside is only sanitizes the areas that are exposed to the light. So if you have a shadow on a product, then and it's passing into high care, you don't necessarily sanitize that part of the product. Mist sanitizing and high flow sanitizing, which is what we concentrate on, is a wet operation. It has a lower capital cost in purchasing the machinery, and in a way it continues to sanitize following the exposure to the machine. So as the products come out of the tunnel into high risk, because they're wetted with chemical solution, they continue to kill the bacteria on the product, whereas on a UV tunnel, once it comes out, the sanitization process is complete. Mist sanitizing is a total loss system where we have water being taken from the mains through a dosing unit which accepts chemicals, which mixes with the water and then sprays them onto the units, onto the product going through. The beauty of our unit is we actually split the belt. So this is a conveyor belt. We split the belt, which allows the water to sanitize not only the 3 upper surfaces, but also the lower surface, which is very important because you'll find a lot of conveyors are continuous and they don't have a gap, they don't have a break. So you don't get the base of the product sanitized, which is what we specialize in. The other thing to note is the areas of maintenance are all in low risk. So you have all the cleaning areas, all the motors, all the rollers, etc., are all in low risk. So it minimises the necessity of engineers having to go into high risk to service the units. The mist sanitizing is a low flow operation, so it has mist jets. So hence you can come from mains with a fairly low flow of solution. The other one we manufacture is a high flow sanitizing solution, which is a pumped system. Again, 360-degree belt. And what we do is we take the belt from high risk and we submerge it into the reservoir to also sanitize the belt and all the hinge lines and things like that, which is very, very critical. The pump system is more tolerant to heavier ingrained road dirt, for instance, because the jets are quick release. You can have a higher flow through there, and it won't block the jets. Whereas if you have some debris on the units as it comes in, we've got automatic chemical dosing as we have with the the mist sanitizer, but it also has a lower water usage because the only water that you're really losing is the water that's coming off the product as it passes through. So it's probably about 60–70% less water usage than the other units. The other important thing to note is in food factories is the actual machinery construction. We've spent a lot of time in trying to eliminate all the things that a lot of people will include, which is spot welds, pop rivets, silicon sealants, tack welds. All of that is really goes against the grain when it comes to hygiene, because if you have two surfaces that are closely knit together, you have a bacterial growth. So what we do with all our machinery, it's all stainless steel construction. There are no crevices, or minimal crevices. Any surfaces that are mating together are fully welded. Any surfaces that are spaced off from each other have a 15mm or 20mm minimum spacing, which allows it to be cleaned a lot easier, which is very important. The pipework inside the units are smooth bore, so you don't have anywhere where bacteria or dirt can generate within the pipework itself. And all the surfaces are free draining. So if you look at the tanks, the canopies, etc., and the return trays, they are all free draining. And that's very important when you're coming down to washing the unit down, because you want to be able to collate all the debris in one area, all the waste, which is what we do. So as you can see, it's very important. These tend to be manufactured in 304 stainless steel. 316s are options, but 304 stainless steel is generally good for most food preparation areas. Because it's in low risk, it doesn't mean to say that it shouldn't be a piece of production equipment that should be as stringent as something that is manufacturing goods. We take that through to all of our machinery, including we have pan utensil washers. Again, every single machine that we manufacture goes to the hygienic guidelines, which is why we've spent quite a bit of time developing all this. Again, hygienic construction, fully welded, no silicon sealant, no pop rivets, no stitch welding. The pumps are stainless steel front-ended pumps, so that they are fairly hygienic, and again, easy to clean, which is very important, because the worst thing that you can do is offer the operators something that's difficult to clean, because human nature says if it's difficult to clean, they won't clean it, which is an unfortunate situation to be in the world, but that's a matter of fact. So everything you need to present to them on a machine has to be cleanable. And that goes through to also our tray washers. Again, these are tray washers that are suitable for low care or high risk. And these actually clean the debris from the trays, either if they're solely in high risk, or on the right-hand side of the screen there is a logistics machine, and that is washing supermarket crates at around about 2,000 an hour per track. So we go from the really low volume right through to the high volume products. But again, everything within the system should be hygienically designed, and it shouldn't have the old design problems of stitch welding, prop rivets, and crevices, which, as I said, harbour bacterial infestations. Even though you are using hot surfaces on the machine, the surfaces that we manufacture are cleanable. So the bottom panels are removable for cleaning. The doors are split skin, which are removable for cleaning. Again, everything on the machine should be cleanable and should be capable of being washed down. So thank you very much for your time. And that completes the presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fowler, for another very insightful, very interesting, and very relevant presentation. Now I would like to open the panel for questions, which have a few of the questions which we have received from our participants. And some are asking about the general, let me find the stainless steel cleaning. Somebody is asking about, Mr. Asad is asking about, we need, what is the best means to do that? It's, I-
I could answer that question.
yeah.
On stainless steel itself, once it gets contaminated with limescale, it's very difficult to clean. The easiest thing to clean it up is with a Scotch-Brite pad, but then that can cause scratching. Now, believe it or not, the best thing to clean stainless steel is baby oil. So if you once you've washed down, if you do a wipe over with the baby oil, then that prevents or minimises the contamination on stainless steel. Very strange, but very true.
Okay. There's, I have a question from you're all technology and the solutions provider for this. How are you going to meet the new demand? That are you prepared? Because I believe that in the last 6 months, the demand for your solutions and your products has really increased. And are you able to meet up with that? It's a question for all of you, briefly.
Speaking about Jonix, the last 3 months has been very storm. It was a very challenging situation because the request improved about 400%. Because as I told you, since at the beginning, our typical market was limited to the food industry and the medical structure. But after COVID, everybody was looking for a solution, a very effective solution to protect himself and the business, industry, etc. So it was very difficult because it was difficult. The supply chain was under stress worldwide in several fields. We have seen that it was very complicated to source some components, but after some very terrible and tough weeks, now we are absolutely prepared for maybe the future, or in any case to satisfy the much bigger market. We have improved the production capability, speaking about Jonix, of course. We have improved the number of supplier of components in Europe, and we have signed new contracts with them to give some priorities. So we are absolutely ready, but I cannot say that last 3 months were easy, not at all. It was very complicated.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Gardan. We too had a problem with, not so much of a problem, but difficulties with supply chain, which is, we were open all the way through the lockdown. We've had a massive increase in personal sanitization systems into food factories, hand sanitizers, turnstiles, and boot wash systems, along with sanitization systems and tray washers, for instance. So we've had probably 50, 60%, excuse me, growth in the last 2 or 3 months. So although COVID has been poor for the industry in general, it's certain aspects of our product line have changed. We've more concentrated onto the hygiene products rather than the fabrication products that we also do. So yes, we've increased production, but we've had to increase production in different areas.
If I speak for on Lagerfors' behalf, it has been a few rough months. We haven't been closed at all. We didn't have a lockdown at all here in Sweden, but we had some kind of restrictions to gatherings and stuff. And we have also had a little problem with our supply chain, as Mr. Fowler said. But we are now out of it, and I feel that we are really prepared, in good shape for handling an increased demand worldwide. So I think we are pretty well off starting the fall here. Yeah, we're good.
I would just like to add to it. I mean, what we have seen in Pakistan is a growing interest Uh, Definitely, COVID has brought about the change because there is a lot more concern. There are new types of questions being asked with regards to personal hygiene, especially, and how that can be implemented, and how the systems that are available in the market can help the hygiene, not just of the environment, but the personal as well. So there has been a growing interest in the Pakistan market. We haven't really seen an upsurge, I wouldn't say that. People are still evaluating, looking at options, but we foresee that the market definitely is moving in that direction, where there are definitely opportunities for the suppliers who are present here as panelists to look into Pakistan market because of this changing trend. And I would also like to point out something, that if Martin can quickly add to the stainless steel question that you asked earlier on, Mr. Nadeem, how can the Lagafor system help in terms of cleaning for the stainless steel system?
Normally in our system, the customer uses hot water, hot pressurized water, 50, 60 degrees centigrade, and 25 to 40 bar pressure. That gives the mechanical effect on the surface you need to break the biofilm, and to, instead of scrubbing, you use the pressure of the water to do a fast job. Coming into chemicals, you have an everyday chemical, normally a chlorinated alkaline chemical of any kind, foaming chlorinated alkaline, and then you have, and afterwards you put on a sanitizer or a disinfectant agent to kill the remaining bacteria on the surfaces. Normally they also do every 2 to 4 weeks, 1 or 2 nights or 1 or 2 cleaning sessions, they use an acid instead of a chlorinated alkaline. They use an acid to remove the residues on the stainless steel and break the bacteria from being resistant. So every now and then you break the bacteria with using an acid instead of an alkaline. But the alkaline and a sanitizer, that is the everyday use for the food industry, and that's so worldwide.
I have a question here from Mr. Hassan Rizvi, one of our participants, and for Mr. Garden. And he's asking if the Jonic systems works on continuous basis, or is the system synchronized with any certain threshold limits that stimulates the system, and also if the system makes any analysis of the pathogens present in the environment.
Jonic solution is designed to work 24 hours a day, continuously, because the source of contaminations are continuously present inside the ambient. So what does it mean? That in our philosophy, there's no better way than to guarantee the constant sanification of air and surfaces. This technology can be perfectly integrated with the technologies of my colleagues, but the purpose is not to have session for sanification, but to guarantee the constant sanification. In terms of, if understood correctly, the question is concerning the bacteria concentration. It's something that has to be checked by accurate tests that typically are done by laboratories. We are open to collaborate with any local laboratory worldwide, because our protocols are international protocols to test the effectiveness of our technology before and after the treatment. This is something that happens quite frequently, especially with hospitals, with this structure where the level of quality of sanification is very high, and the demand of cleanness is very important. So we are really open to do this, but coming back to the beginning, the sanification for us is done 24 hours a day with presence of people without any effect to them.
Okay. Also, one related question is that if the system capacity is somehow subjected to the presence of number of people in a room, and where they are confined and where the system is involved.
Yes, of course. Of course, when we select the right device to install in the ambient, we have to identify one of the factors to select properly the technology is the purpose of this ambient. Because if we have a waiting area in an airport is different than a production area inside the food industry, because the concentration of people is different, the density of people is different, and so the possibility to have a contamination coming from people is different. This is one of the parameters that we take care in the selection of the best purpose of the best machine to integrate. We select the machine according with the use, if it's an hospital, if it's a residential area, or if it's a hotel, or it's a chemical industry, and according also with the concentration of people. Obviously, that the concentration of people is important, but this doesn't matter. That this doesn't mean that in case of double people, the machine is not big enough. We analyze which are the contaminants, which are the typical contaminants in the ambient, and then we select properly the units.
Very much. Thank you. Rafiq sir, I have a question for you. What you mentioned is that generally all the good companies and the good food processing units, they are following these protocols even before the pandemic, and it's a part of your regular protocol. All these practices which are in terms of cleanliness and hygiene. Do you think this pandemic will encourage people more to those companies also, and those people who have not been following? Would they be mandated to do follow certain hygiene practices which are now would be the demand of the industry, or how would that affect the overall scenario of the hygiene and safety, food safety standards in the industry?
Yeah, common sense says that it should. But when it comes to implementing those SOPs, I think our food authorities are doing a good job, especially in Punjab and Sindh. They have been visiting all these facilities and also the points of sales, and making sure that at least basic standards are followed. It's not just a regulatory body forcing on you or shoving down your throat that you should do this and you should do that. It's very important that it should come from the top. The management, the owners have to have their commitment that regardless, as I said, COVID-19 has just brought things up in the limelight. But these are the things that, we need to be doing day in and day out. I mean, hygiene and taking care of people's health, and trying to practice and follow the best practices in the industry is something, that doesn't need a pandemic to make you do it. I mean, you need to be doing it all the time. Unfortunately, some people in Pakistan I'll talk about, only God can help them, because they just do not want to change, unfortunately. We have our friends from different countries, so it's embarrassing to expose yourself like this in front of the guests. But this is the problem. Some people just don't understand because they think that following these standards will add to their cost of doing business. This is a necessary evil. Because when you are dealing with food industry, you have certain obligations. And the first obligation is the safety and security of your people and the people that you are serving. And if that means to upgrade your system, if that means to follow the best and the most latest protocols, then be it. That is something that we should not worry about, and do it consciously. I saw a question from one of the participants that he was fired from a job because he asked his boss to wear a hairnet or a face mask or something. This is this is something that we live with all every day. But unfortunately, some owners or some even big bosses think they are above the law. They think that these protocols, so-called, or these policies and SOPs apply to the rest of the world, not on them. But because this comes from a personal commitment, in my opinion. And yes, COVID has brought things up. It has made people more aware. People are asking, consumers are asking more questions. But I think the general public in Pakistan, to be honest with you, is not as demanding as they are in West. You know, they are either not very much aware or they think that, okay, I mean, it's fine. There's COVID, it's going to go away. And, you know, there's a lot of the owners think that this cost is not worth it. But in my opinion, it will certainly bring improvement. But how far, that's a question that needs to be answered. I mean, the time will tell.
Thank you. Thank you. And Arej, a few words about the global gap and how is that going to, you know, impact even more after this our supply chain and the produce to reach the production units for processing.
Yes, Pakistan is new to global gaps. I mean, this is a project which is not more than maybe 5 years or 6 years old when USAID started working very aggressively. I mean, a lot of the suppliers had learned about it earlier, but there was no project or program in place for global gaps. And then USAID took the initiative of educating the agri-produce sector. They took the initiative with the crops and horticulture, you can say. These were the initial sectors where they have worked to introduce global gaps. And this is something which we need to adapt to. Because this is going to be, you know, when we talk about raising our standards and the quality of food and the awareness, especially something very interesting that Rafiq Saab just mentioned is the consumer demand. I mean, a lot of the things are driven by the interest of, in terms of safety and knowledge by the consumer. You know, this whole COVID has opened a whole new chapter for all of us. A lot of people just took hygiene for granted, for instance, in all aspects of life. But this has highlighted the importance of hygiene in all walks of life, and also in the food and food processing industry. So I believe now there will be a greater push to move towards global gap. And not just, I mean, global gap, like I said earlier, when we start from the farm, which would cover all the three major sectors: crops, livestock, and aquaculture. But moving on, the supply chain side, and something very interested that I saw on Nicola's presentation was about the cold stores or the storage facilities where, you know, these things become very essential and critical, the kind of solutions Jonix is offering, because these would be part of the global gap implementation. So we are a long way from global gap. We have reached certain milestones when it comes down to the food processing industry. But obviously, one thing that I always say to people is that be it crop or ingredients, if you ensure the raw material that you put in your product, your life becomes easier when you're processing it. So, you know, in all aspects, be it hygiene, safety, safety in terms of the kind of chemicals or preservatives or all those aspects, or the halal certifications, all these aspects play an important role. So yes, we have seen improvements on the hygiene side in the processing industry, but we need to work back and start implementing those on the global gap standard. So the initial product that is becoming part of the supply chain is able to be processed with you know, more stringent controls. So there is definitely awareness, and I believe COVID has definitely shook us up. And like I said, it has to be driven by the consumer. the authorities that were mentioned, the Sindh Food and Punjab Food Authority, which are definitely putting in a lot of effort in ensuring. So all this has to come together, and it seems that, I hate to say this, but for certain aspects, there's always a blessing in everything. So this could be a blessing in disguise to force us to move in the right direction a little more quickly than we were moving earlier on.
Yes, indeed, indeed, Ari. This is something that I think this opportunity to improve and to be more receptive to all these concepts, which are very practical and very make common sense, as Rafiq Saab had said. But fortunately, now people have the mindset now to at least consider a change, and it's a change of culture, which takes a long time. So thank you very much, and it has been a very enlightening discussion with different aspects of food safety and security, and I really thank Pegasus for organizing this very interesting webinar, which has been very, I'm sure, useful for our industry and anybody who's interested in this concept. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Participating.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for
You're welcome.
participation. Okay.
And the presentation is available on YouTube channel, Anam, I believe.
It will be available on the YouTube channel, or all the live session will be available there on our Facebook page as well.
And if anybody is interested in more details, they can always contact our panelists directly for more details about this technology. And hopefully, the industry will move ahead in this good direction, the right direction after. Thank you very much, all.
Thank you.
All the best
Thank
to
you
you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.